the channel, you guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. Got the Oxidean Marine Dominator. Okay, this is a hull and hardware option that Oxidean offers. He also offers ready run, almost ready to run. Today we're going to be setting this boat up. We're going to drop in our own electronics and install all the included hardware. Okay, it has props, shafts, rudder, water pickups, the whole nine. Okay, basically all you gotta do, drop your electronics in, battery, and you're ready to freaking race. Okay, I'm gonna go through the whole setup with you guys. So grab your popcorn, grab your drinks, buckle up. It's gonna be a long one. Big B with Ironclad RC.
Yes, sir. So bashing, racing, saw passes. This thing's gonna be ideal, man.
So you just got your new Dominator, or you're thinking about getting a Dominator. Okay, so the Dominator, this hull and hardware, it comes with all the hardware pre-installed on the transom. What you really need to concentrate on when you get the boat is just kind of figure out what you want to throw in for electronics. Now, I'm gonna throw in a DYNIMITE 120 and a DYNIMITE 1900 kV 4-pole 3674. Okay, so now this is just a basic electronics package for this boat. Now, say you have a couple ready to run boats that you've upgraded the electronics in, and you got some electronics laying around. It's a good candidate. Okay, you're not going to break any speed records with this setup. Well, you might. It might actually surprise us. Okay, but the boat's lightweight is what I'm getting at, and you should be able to get away with like a 3674 or larger 36 millimeter size can, 3682. You could throw a 40 millimeter, like 4068, 4074, 4082, 4092 in this boat, and she's gonna absolutely scream. Okay, you got enough battery mounting options that you could throw 4S in for P class. Okay, you can throw 6S for bashing, speed runs, 8S for extreme saw passes. Okay, this is a good all-around boat. You got plenty of room in this boat to do whatever the heck your imagination comes up with. Okay, so we're going to run the V1 Sonic Wake electronics in this boat, and then we'll kind of work it up from there, you know, and it's something that you can just throw in the boat with your choice of radio. Now, I'm going to run the QUASAR. Bill actually sent me a receiver and the external GPS module that we're going to set up on this boat. So if you're thinking about getting this boat, you got the RX, you got the electronics already, keep this in mind. Okay, carbon fiber hulls. They kind of block radio waves. Definitely need a receiver that has an antenna. I know, like the Tactic TTX 300, they don't have an antenna on their receivers, so that receiver would not work in this boat. Keep that in mind. If you running a GPS on the boat, you need to basically tape or make a case for your GPS to sit in on external, like outside of the boat. Okay, because it blocks all the signal, so keep that in mind. I think I'm going to go ahead and get started on the hardware. I think that's the most important part. Installing the electronics is pretty cut and dry. That's the beauty about this boat. It's simple to set up. You could probably get this boat set up and installed on the water within a couple hours if you're like get at it, you know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get at it. All right, I got my steering rod here. You don't really have to start where I'm starting at. I'm going to start with my rudder and just put my steering rod in. Now, we cannot hook up our steering rod yet. We got to find center on our servo. I would imagine it would be right there, but we got to double check that with the electronics once we get it installed. So what I've been doing is I've been putting a little bit of silicone watchmaker's grease on my steering rod. Okay, any kind of like Vaseline lubricant will work. It just helps your steering rod go in and out that rubberized bellow on your through hole. Okay, so I'm gonna get this in the bellow and we're gonna run it to this easy connector on the servo. So it's gonna look something like that. I don't have it tightened down yet. Make sure you put blue Loctite on your grub screw. My wife's picking up some blue Loctite right now, so I'm gonna have to wait on that. I actually put these silicone cooling lines on my Allens. They give it a little bit more grip, so you can work them a little bit easier. Okay, a little tip for you. Install our 95 millimeter rudder. Okay, pretty easy. it actually kicks up, so you'll actually need to set the tension on the top and bottom screw once you're all done with your setup. Okay, we're just going to kind of set it in place for right now and leave it kicked back. So once we get this on, we're going to go ahead and install the turn fins. Now, with this rudder nut, you don't need to put any Loctite on this. It's got nylon locking nuts. Okay, see the nylon on your nut right here. Alright, so you don't really need no Loctite on here. You can put it on there if you want to. So once you get your rudder on, okay, you're going to need to pull the pin, Loctite that grub screw holding the pin in, and then while you have the pin out, there's a grub screw holding this rudder arm in place. In here, right in this crack. You need to Loctite both of those grub screws. If not, when you're running the boat and you turn, that grub screw can work out and you'll lose steering like that. Okay, very important. Now we're going to go ahead and put our turn fins on. Fairly straightforward. Alright, make sure the knife edge is facing out on the outside of the boat. That's important because it will affect the turning and performance of your boat. Okay, so these turn fins are height adjustable. We can adjust the height and the angle. Okay, I'm going to start off with a, maybe mid height and a moderate angle. Well, we can adjust these once we get to the water. That's the beauty about turn fins and, well, trim tabs. A lot of times you use a straight edge to set those up, but these you can adjust them on the fly, tinker around with different positions. Deep, shallow, no angle, a lot of angle type deal, and just see where the boat likes it. So we'll kind of mess around with that later on. We're going to go ahead and get our brass tubes. These are just brass tubes. They got an angle cut on it. Okay, nothing too technical here. Okay, and the technical part is where you set them. What you want to do is get you like a ruler. Okay, a ruler, put it on the flat part of the boat, not the keel, the flat part. Okay, you want to set these water pickups basically in line with the bottom of the boat. I actually recommend, these are extended pickups, so when the water breaks off the back of this boat, the water actually kind of splashes up and it's going to actually be catching the spray off the transom of the boat. Okay, so I actually recommend going about 1 millimeter higher. Hopefully you guys can see up under my trim tab there. 1 millimeter higher than the ride surface. But to start off with, I recommend just going in line with the bottom of the boat. Okay, if it's cool in there, and we can go up later on. Go up about 1 millimeter. If we still picking up water 1 millimeter higher, go up 2 millimeters higher. Get these pickups out the water as much as possible, but pick up as much water as possible. You feel me? I got the water pickups installed, blue Loctite on the grub screw, got them set in line with the bottom. I cut 6 millimeters off the top of the pickup so I have a nice transition with my cooling line into the boat. So now we need to work on the coupler and the flex cable. I like this coupler. That's actually nice. It's stainless steel, got 4 grub screws to hold your cable in place. The cable has 2 flat spots cut on the end. It's welded right here. 2 flat spots to cinch down the grub screws on so this bad boy don't go nowhere. I got my blue Loctite. My wife just got back just in time. Okay, so let's get all that worked out. I just put some grease on my shaft. Alright, this is Loctite on. You don't have to worry about that. Check it anyway. I've already went through and tightened down all these screws. Just made sure everything was nice and tight. Everything was tight. I didn't have to tighten nothing down. They're ready. The rudder's on. The linkage is ready to be hooked up once we get our electronics in. So I just put a lot of blue Loctite on this. I went kind of crazy with it. I got a little bit in the coupler. That's fine, because when you push your shaft through the grease, it's not going to stick to the coupler. I went crazy. I always go crazy with Loctite on my couplers. And my drive dog. My drive dogs are red Loctite. I go crazy with blue Loctite on these. Okay. So I think I am going to go with the 3674 opposed to the 4068 with the 120 Dynamite. Okay, so what you want to do is get your coupler situated on your motor shaft. Make sure your grub screws are on the flat spot. Okay, we got that right there ready to go. I need to loosen this up just a touch here so we can get it lined up. Alright, I'm going to start off with mine about right there. That looks pretty good. And then we need to make sure that we get those flat spots right there that's on that welded spot of the cable lined up to the grub screw. So you got grub screws, flat spot, make sure that's lined up. I'm putting my coupler on first because that's actually, seems like it would actually help us get the motor and our head screws lined up. Alright, so what you want to do with your motor, when you install a motor, you need to kind of think ahead and figure out where you're going to put your wires, where the wires are going to come out of the motor, because a lot of times you can, you know, have your wires come out the top or the bottom. So with this boat here, it looks like we may need to actually, oh, that might be good. So I'm going to have my motor wires coming out the bottom, but depending on what motor you use, just kind of keep that in mind, okay? I've got blue Loctite on my head screws. Okay, I've got my water jacket moved around so I can get my motor in. Okay, and I'm just going to tighten down these screws. I'll probably just cut back in once I get them all done. I don't think my flex driver is going to reach in there to help me out installing those head screws. Yeah, I don't think it is. So I'm going to have to go old school with it. Yes, sir, buddy. I was able to use my flex driver. Come on, come on. With the flex driver, you can only get it so tight, so you gotta do that last quarter turn with your Allen. You basically just get your coupler lined up so you can get to your grub screws. This is basically why you have to put the coupler on first, because it runs into, you can't get that screw. You know what I'm saying? So just basically want to pull your cable out, make sure you got your flat spot positioned up, push it in with your coupler in the right place, right there. Once you have your grub screw cinched down, like I would say 80% onto your cable, okay, now you can actually set the gap. Alright, that's how much room you got to play on this boat right there. That's how much room you got. Okay, I got it cinched down on that cable. Okay, so I'm gonna run mine about right there. Alright, you don't need no more than that. That's all you need. You got a Teflon washer in there for friction. This is a 0.187 heavy duty cable. It's not gonna reduce in size. Okay, so I'm gonna tighten down my grub screws. Tight as I can get them. Alright, tight as I can get them. Done. Go ahead and get the speed control hooked up. Now, I did change the bullets over for this build. The stock DYNIMITE bullets are, I think, a 5mm bullet or a 5.5. I changed them to a 6.5 Castle. Okay, you get more current flow with this boat. We're going to have some decent sized props on there. So bear with me. I got a lot of stuff going on here. Bear with the camera angle. I got my receiver. I got my servo, my max amp servo hooked up. I got the throttle hooked up in the throttle channel here. Got my 6.5 bullets plugged in. Okay, we'll switch polarity in a little bit. I got my SMC HCL HP 150C 7600 pack in the boat, and we're going to hook it up here, see if we can't get everything binded up. I have not run this ESC in like a year. I need to check, make sure it's working before I get it mounted up. The only bummer about running this speed control right now, which this is the speed control Bill wanted me to run in the boat for a few runs to kind of see where the boat's at with this setup. It's got the EC5s. All my good batteries have QS8s on them now. So this is the only good battery I have with EC5s. Alright, I got a couple cheap ones. I think my CNHL even has a QS8 on it right now. So we'll just kind of make do, and then we'll put something else in. I wanted to put the Oxidean 200 in here right off the gate, but Bill wanted me to run this setup, which is fine. I'm actually curious to see how the boat handles with this. Okay, so everything's good. I've double checked all my connections. Everything's right. Make sure you double check all your connections before plugging power in. Okay.
0.0 volt.
Okay, so I got it. Steering trim is 0, throttle trim is 0, okay? So let's check the steering. Oh, the steering's reversed, so I need to actually reverse that in my remote so we can hook up our steering linkage. Okay, it's zeroed out in the remote, and blue Loctite that grub screw with your rudder in line with the keel. I've already got this one blue Loctited. It's ready to go. Okay, let's check the throttle. Ooh, oh, okay. Granted, I need to put a little bit more grease in the drive line, but that actually sounds pretty good. Okay, need more grease. All right. Since we have to run this antenna out the boat, and the antenna is going to be right up under the through hole there, I'm going to be running the boat in salt water. I decided to balloon my receiver. Okay, usually I corrosion X them, but this one's conformal coated, and salt water is not good, especially for a receiver with high technologies like this. It has all these ports and stuff, so I'm going to balloon it. And I'm not going to run my GPS in the boat quite yet, because this receiver actually has a GPS module that we're going through hole. I think I'll make a separate video for that. Right now, I'm ready to get the boat on the water, so I'm going to balloon it. I'm going to stretch this balloon over the receiver with this wire sticking out, and I'll probably zip tie it with some of that watchmaker's silicone around the end of the balloon for additional waterproofing. I got my receiver in the balloon, got my zip tie ready. I got watchmaker grease, silicone grease in my syringe. I'm going to put some of this in my balloon where I'm going to like zip tie it. Okay, hopefully that'll help like keep the water from entering where the zip tie is. Okay, and I'm basically just going to zip tie it. Boom. Okay, like that, just like that. And let's go double protection. I'm just going to help keep the water out in between the wires, you know. Alright, got plenty of antenna here, I hope. And we're going to get these zip ties cleaned up. We're going to get this antenna through our antenna through hole. I got the boat flipped over here. Okay, we're going to set up, or do an initial setup. I've never run this boat before, so I couldn't tell you how it likes to be set up. So I'm going to start with my inside trim tabs closest to the stinger. I'm going to start with those in line with the bottom of the boat. That's where I'm going to start with the inside trim tabs. Those are going to be basically tuned for straights and to get the main ride attitude of your boat. Okay, the outside trim tabs, I would imagine, is for turning. Okay, mostly like to keep the bow up, keep the bow down in a turn. I'm going to run those what I call a cunt hair higher than the bottom of the boat. Just basically put your ruler there and set your trim tab to the desired height. I'm going to start with an inline. My first run. I've never run this boat, so I couldn't tell you. My stinger, I'm gonna run a neutral position. Okay, I think Bill actually recommends 1 degree negative on the stinger. I'm gonna start neutral, and we'll go from there with it. Okay, now's the time to set the tension on your rudder kick up screws. You know, you don't want it too hard to, you know, when you hit something, you want your rudder to kick back fairly easy, like I got mine. And my turn fins, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to run a medium height and a moderate angle. Nothing like technical. All right. My water pickups. Now's the time to set your water pickups. Now I did fine tune these. These are actually right on. I mean, they're not even. They're barely touching the ruler. Barely. Okay. Got it sitting on the flat surface here. They barely touch the ruler, and I'll go down or up as needed. Okay, this will get me ready for my first run.
Hell, I am surprised this thing's handling so good with just the basic setup. You know, that's unbelievable. I hadn't flipped it one time. It's unflippable. Let's try to flip it. It won't flip. That's as hard as I can cut it. It will not flip. Oh, this is a basher boat right here, you guys. 100% all day long. Oh, We flipped it.
Okay, now this is a freaking race boat. This is a race boat. Granted, I just waxed the bottom. We're gonna knock the shine off the bottom of this boat. We're gonna get a piece of 1,000 or 500 grit sandpaper on a straight edge, and we're gonna knock this whole bottom down. We're gonna rough it up, the whole thing. You know, basically like so it breaks the surface tension while it's running. You don't want a slick, shiny bottom on a boat like this. You know, it'll suck down to the water. So I'm gonna knock the shine off this thing in an upcoming video. Not gonna go crazy with it, but we're gonna do like a light blueprint and just knock the shine off. So she's ready to roll, you guys. She's ready to roll. Okay, I've got my water pickups in to my ESC and out the boat. In to the motor and out the boat. With the speed control, I actually switched my water cooling line. Okay, this line was for the ESC, this line was for the motor. With this motor, it has that 90-degree angle on the motor there, so this line wouldn't reach, so I just swapped them out. Okay, this cooling line right here, I had plenty of cooling line, so I cut a little run of that, and I used it for my ESC loop. Okay, I actually put a spring on my loop so it don't kink off with our batteries in the boat. Speaking of batteries, I got my DV Extreme 4S, well 2S and 2S 135C 5200 2S twins. Okay, on the flood chamber battery tray. With this battery tray, you're going to need to provide your own battery straps for like a 4S brick or a 6S brick. Okay, I'll be running this HCL HP in there, so you'll actually need to put you some battery straps in to accommodate a larger battery. I think it only comes with one, and it was a short one, basically just big enough for your ESC. Okay, everything's set up right here. We got Loctite on everything. I went through and Loctited my bullet nut. Make sure you put Loctite on that. It don't have nylon locking like these nuts right here, so you gotta put blue Loctite on there. I've run red Loctite on it. Granted, you have to heat it up. That's no big deal for me. Okay, blue Loctite recommended. I actually put, you can see it. Okay, I just backed these screws, or before I screwed the screws in, I actually put blue Loctite on the screw, so when it goes into this bracket right here, it'll have something to grab onto, and we're not solely relying on the locking nut, that set nut. Okay, just something for you guys to think about. I put blue Loctite on this, the rudder arm. It's ready to go. It's ready to go. So let me get it all spooled up, and I'm gonna let you guys go. Alright, so I got my on-off switch right here, and I put my balloon in the brace. I've got my antenna cut down for my antenna right here. I used a little piece of silicone cooling line just to give it some backbone. This actually goes down into that aluminum through hole, antenna through hole. So before you try to put this antenna in your boat, I recommend cracking a beer or taking a shot of whiskey or something, because that right there was a pain in the butt. Got my receiver ballooned. Okay, she's ready to roll. All right, got the prop on, got grease and everything. 4S. Servo. Fast. Look how fast that thing is, man. Okay, so I am noticing this. So we're going to need to address this. Probably won't do it in this video. I'm about to let you guys go. But we're going to have to put a zip tie on that cooling line to keep it off the steering rod and the steering arm. Okay, that's going to wear a hole in your silicone cooling line. So that's how you set up a Dominator, get it ready for your initial run. It took me about, well, video, and it took me a lot longer. You could probably get it done in a couple hours if you get at it. So yeah, what a sweet looking boat. I can't wait to get her on the water. We'll run at 4S and 6S, and then we're going to take this ESC out. We're going to run this motor right here on 6 and 8S. Okay, so we'll see you guys next time. Big B with Ironclad RC.